So my dear student friends, up until the last class, we were studying the chapter Indigo, and I told you it is one of the most important prose pieces of your course. So today also we will continue with Indigo and try to finish the chapter. What did we see up till here? Let's go for a recap. We have seen that a certain farmer, some farmer, whose name is Rajkumar Shukla, he visits Gandhi and implores upon Gandhi, that is requests Gandhi, to come and help the cause of the sharecroppers of Champaran. Where is Champaran? Champaran is a district of Bihar. It is in the foothills of the Himalayas. It is situated near Nepal. There the sharecroppers are having problems with the system, with the British government, with the British system, and they want Gandhi's help. Gandhi at first said, no, I cannot go with you because I've got other engagements. This fellow Rajkumar Shukla followed Gandhi everywhere until he forced Gandhi to become ready to come with him and help in the cause of the sharecroppers of Champaran. When Gandhi came there, at first he tried to gather information. This entire thing was much of a lawyer's movement, because when Gandhi went there, when Gandhi reached there, he held several rounds of deliberations with lawyers, eminent lawyers of the time. And in this whole thing, you will find the names of many people. Like for example, Dr. Rajendra Prasad. Dr. Rajendra Prasad later on became the first president of independent India. So with all these lawyers, Gandhi sat down and tried to understand what is the problem. Eventually he understood what the problem was. What was the problem? The British planters or the British zamindars, they leased out land to the Indian farmers. They had one condition. The condition was that you have to, if you are an Indian farmer, you have to plant, you can plant anything on your land, but on 30% of the land, let's call it 30% of this land, on 30% of this land, you will have to plant only indigo. Alright, you can plant anything here, you plant rice, potato, tomato, doesn't matter, but on this 30% of your land, you have to plant indigo, and then after the indigo grows, you have to surrender the entire indigo to the British. Clear? This was the arrangement, the sharecropper arrangement between the British zamindars and the Indian farmers. Now, these farmers did not like this 30% business, the Indian farmers, because I told you the other day, planting indigo is a very hassle-some business. It's a very hassle-some, it's a very troublesome thing to do. So they did not like this. Plus, look at the loot here. Indigo is a cash crop. I told you that day. Is it not? Indigo is a cash crop. That is, this is not meant for food. It is such a crop which, if you sell, it fetches you a lot of money. Cash crops are basically those crops which you cannot directly go and eat. You have to process it. Alright, you have to process it. It's not like potato. If you take it out of the ground, you can boil a potato and have it for your lunch. If you take it out of your garden in the morning, you can have it with your lunch in the noon. But that is a food crop. So things like potato are called food crops. But things like indigo or say cotton or say jute, these are called cash crops, because either it cannot be consumed, it is not edible, you cannot eat them, or you cannot directly eat them, you have to process them. Like for example coffee, you cannot just go to a garden, or tea, you can't just go to a tea garden, pluck some tea leaves and start gobbling them down. You cannot do that. To have tea, you have to pluck the leaves, process the leaves, get tea leaves out of this, what you call as chapati, what you get it at your home, the black granular powdery thing, that has to be made in the factories, and then only it is sold in the market. You go to buy them and then you process them, have them as your tea. So it cannot be directly had as food. So this is what they were doing, these people. They said, and indigo, if you can take out indigo and sell it in the market, it will fetch you a lot of money. And the British zamindars, what did they do? They said you have to plant indigo on 30% of your land, and then you have to surrender all the indigo to me. You cannot keep any indigo with you. So this was the system that the British had with the Indian farmers. Now what is the problem? What is the bigger problem? The bigger problem, ठीक है, सब तो चल रहा है. Problem क्या है? Problem है ये कि one day the British heard that this country called Germany has developed synthetic indigo. All right. This country called Germany has developed synthetic indigo. Synthetic indigo means you can make indigo in the laboratory, in the lab. So there is no need to go and laboriously cultivate indigo, not necessary anymore. So the British realized that, this 30% of indigo that they get is a complete waste. What did they do? They were very clever, I would say very cunning people. Okay, clever in a negative sense is called cunning. They are very cunning people. What did they do? They did not tell the Indian farmers that Germany has developed synthetic indigo, that the indigo has become useless, the 30% indigo has become useless. They told the Indian people that I know you people don't like to plant indigo, and because we feel for you, so you don't have to plant any indigo on your lands anymore. So the Indians got very happy. They said, okay, fine, very good. It's very nice. We will not have to go into this hassle-some business anymore. So they said, okay, fine, thank you. But the British said, okay, wait. If you want to stop farming indigo on this 30% land, you will have to pay us a compensation. This is cheating. This is cheating because compensation for what? If there is a loss for you because of me, then I pay the compensation. Ab main kya karu? What shall I do? Your indigo has become useless. You cannot demand compensation from me because I have thrown away something that is not needed for you. So indigo is an absolutely unnecessary redundance. It is not necessary anymore. ये कोई काम का नहीं रह गया. But the British did not tell them कि ये कोई काम का नहीं रह गया. The British said, they tried to show that they are being kind, they are being magnanimous towards the Indians. The truth is that they were cheating the Indian farmers. Are you getting the point? This is the most important point of this chapter. So they cheated, and when the British said that you have to pay the compensation, some Indian farmers, they paid the compensation. Said, "Bhai, chalo chutkara mila, finish, no more indigo cultivation." Some farmers, what did they do? Some farmers, they did not want to pay the compensation. They went to the court. They said, "Bhai, you don't want us to cultivate indigo. You are asking for compensation. We feel cheated. Farmers, when they went to court, the zamindars hired gundas behind them, gundas behind them. So Gandhi learnt about this thing, and then he began his andolan, he began his movement. What did he do? He tried to gather information first. First he went to the superintendent of the Tirhut division. He said, commissioner of the Tirhut division. He said, he tried to bully him. Said, get out of here. The secretary of the British Landlords Association said, I cannot give information to an outsider. The secretary of the British Landlord Association tells Mahatma Gandhi that I cannot furnish information to an outsider. Who is the outsider here? The Indian or the British? So Gandhi said exactly that. He said, I am not an outsider. So anyway, a point came when Gandhi got into direct legal trouble. How did it happen? One day he heard that a farmer had been tortured by the zamindar in a neighboring village. He decided to go and meet him. When he was on his way, the superintendent of police's messenger, the messenger of the SP, came and gave him a note. In the note it was written, Gandhi, please go back to your room, wherever you are, go back. Gandhi came back. Once he was in this room, the SP messenger gave him a message. What was written in that message? In that message, the SP had ordered Gandhi to get out of Champaran immediately. Gandhi signed it, said, yes, I have received his message, but I will disobey the order. Right? It takes a lot of courage. I told you, satyagraha, truth and nothing but the truth. Right? Gandhi could have said, okay, what you are trying to fight against the law. So what will you try to do? You will try to hoodwink the law. That is, you will try to cheat the law. Gandhi did not do it. He told him honestly, whatever happened, yes, I have received your message, but no, I shall not follow your order. That's what Gandhi told the SP. So what happened? You violated the SP's order, obviously you will be arrested. Gandhi was arrested. They thought it would be very easy to try Gandhi and sentence him to imprisonment on charges of conspiring against the state. But they realized, when the trial began, they realized that Gandhi was not such soft stuff. Actually, the day when Gandhi was taken to the court, the entire town of Motihari was, Louis Fisher writes it, was filled black with peasants. All the Indian farmers, they came out into the streets, into the roads. There was a huge traffic jam, nobody moving anywhere. It was a huge commotion. And the British realized that they cannot control such a big crowd. They cannot control such a big crowd without the help of Gandhi. Imagine, look at their powerless situation. They have arrested a man and now they cannot try that man. And who has arrested whom? The most powerful empire on earth has arrested a common man, and now agents of that empire, the British Empire, cannot try a single very ordinary man in the court, because a sea of humanity has come out in spontaneous support of Mahatma Gandhi. Are you getting the point? Now what should they do? So they took Gandhi's help. Gandhi went out to the people and asked them to remain calm. Inside the court, the judge is in a problem. He needs Gandhi's help. If he just throws him into the jail, he knows the mob will go out on a rampage. They cannot control law and order. If he sets Gandhi free, that also he cannot do. It will be surrendering to Mahatma Gandhi. What should he do? So he said, okay, the court will deliver. Here he tried to be a little clever. He said, okay, the court will announce the sentencing after 2 hours, and for those 2 hours, Gandhi, you may pay bail. Who pays bail? Bail is paid by a person who is accused of a crime, and Gandhi had told the court, I have done no crime. I am in a dilemma. What did the Gandhi tell the court? He said, Your Honor, I am locked between the horns of a dilemma. What is locked between the horns of a dilemma? I don't know which way I should go. On the one hand, I have my duty to my countrymen. And on the other hand, I have the duty to the law. On the one hand, I cannot turn away from the suffering of my countrymen. On the other hand, I cannot set a bad precedent by breaking the law. Your Honor, what should I do? You advise me. And naturally, what should you do? If you have to save a life or to do good, if you break the law, what kind of a law is that supports oppression of a common person? Definitely that law is wrong. Imagine. And this is what he has highlighted. He says, if I obey your law, my countryman dies. What shall I do? You tell me. Should I turn my eyes away from my dying countrymen? Or should I set a bad precedent, a bad record by breaking the law? Your Honor, I don't wish to break the law. You advise. What should the judge do? Judge is in a complete fix. He does not know what to do. Alright, because Gandhi has a point. His point is right. So there is no easy way out of it. Yeah, there is an easy way out of it. The easy way is that the British Empire, the British court should accept that it has been their fault. So what does Gandhi do next? Anyway, the case was, they said, after 2 hours, they said, well, alright, fine, we will not raise up this case for several days. And till that time, Gandhi was free to go. Once Gandhi came out, Gandhi, what did he do? He began to gather more information. And as a result of his activism, do you understand? As a result of his activism, what happened was that an inquiry commission was formed and it found the British planters guilty. Imagine a British Inquiry Commission finds its own people guilty of cheating the poor Indian farmers. What a big victory it is. I hope you can realize what I am saying. A British Inquiry Committee was formed as a result of the pressure exerted by Gandhi's movement, and that British committee found the British zamindars guilty of oppressing, exploiting the Indian farmers. Now it's a big victory for Mahatma Gandhi. So what to do? So Mahatma Gandhi now, as a victor, he goes and meets the Zamindars Association. He knew that they would not pay the entire money, so he demanded 50%. The Zamindars said, we will pay 25%. Please note this point. He is demanding the money back. The Zamindars are ready to pay Gandhi is demanding 50% back because 100% they won't pay. Gandhi is demanding 50% of the money back. The Zamindars are saying 25%. What do you think Gandhi will do? What do you think he'll do? The Zamindars are not ready to pay the full amount. Gandhi is demanding 50%, and now the Zamindars are saying we can't pay 50%, we'll pay 25%. What do you think Gandhi will do? You know what? Gandhi accepted it, 25%, immediately accepted it. And everybody asked him, what, Mr. Gandhi, why? Why did you accept 25%? You could have forced them to pay up 50%. Why did you settle in for 25%? What is the matter? He said, the money is not the big thing. The money is not the big thing. The big thing is that all these days the British thought that these poor farmers, they could never raise their voice against the British Empire. But today, this victory has shown the British Empire that these poor people can also raise their voice and can also demand their rights, and most importantly, can snatch their rights as well. So that is the biggest victory in this entire whole episode, and that's why Gandhi decided to settle for 25%. So that is how Gandhi's Champaran movement, his first endeavor towards using satyagraha as a means, as a tool for mass agitation, an agitation that eventually led to the freedom of India. For the first time, this is where it was successful. 2-3 more minor points are there. During his stay, Gandhi tried to work for the welfare of the people. There he also made schools. Many schools were opened. Kasturba, his wife, also helped with the health and hygiene of the women of the locality. So, and also built up an ashram kind of there, where they used to take care of the people and tried to improve their standards of living. So this much for today's lecture. I hope you followed the lecture, and if you have got any doubt, please do comment in the comment section. You can also get in touch with me. Email me on zahir.ecn@gmail.com. You can email me your doubts. You can also contact the contact person who contacts you on your WhatsApp group. There also you can tell the contact person if you have got any kinds of doubts that I may help you with. Thank you very much for watching.